So this image is going around China for the people that weren't tuning in live.
Yeah.
And Chinese people were getting mad. Now, can you look at that picture, right? And look at it and tell me, why would a Chinese person get mad at this photo of just some fans at the World Cup? Why would they get mad?
Well, because no one's wearing masks and everyone's having a good time.
Ooh, interesting. So there was genuine shock, and it was pretty interesting to see genuine shock and awe with Chinese netizens that we're seeing huge gatherings of people at the World Cup in Qatar, right?
Yeah.
And no one's wearing masks.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to hang out. They're allowed to watch. They're not allowed to drink beer.
No.
They're allowed to watch.
What's the point of going to a football game if you can't drink beer? Like, I'm like, what am I going to do?
Isn't that what
twiddle my
people
thumbs
do?
and actually care about the game?
Anyway,
dude.
Long story short.
Yeah.
They're upset. And it was really interesting to watch because they have been for 3 years in this paranoid state where if you get COVID, you're going to die. Your life's upended. You're going to lose your job. You're going to be locked in your house. Everything is screwed up.
And
right?
the state narrative has always been, listen, you have to put up with this because the rest of the world is dying in droves.
Yeah.
COVID has wreaked havoc amongst all the other countries, and we are the only safe country because we do the zero COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where we keep getting asked questions by Chinese friends and relatives and even other foreigners living in China. They're like, dude, are you guys okay in America with all the zero COVID and killing everyone and all the, the vaccine nonsense? And everyone's so concerned that our lives are so terrible. Meanwhile, we're back and partying like it's 1999 for more than a year now, where everything's normal. But in China, it's not. Right. You have to have masks. You have to have social distancing. You have to, unless you're queuing up for a test, obviously, then you just crowd in a mass and spread disease. But, it's a crazy bubble that people are living in there. And seriously, we've had, let's be honest. There are a lot of foreigners who live in China that don't really like us.
Yes.
Okay? And that's because we tell some truths that they don't want to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And on top of that, maybe we make their lives a little harder.
Yes.
Because, people look at us criticizing the CCP and then they might say, hey, look, foreigners don't like China, and then take it out on these guys.
Yes.
It happens. I understand why they don't like us. A lot of the people that don't like us have been reaching out in private, and so we're not going to, we don't want to embarrass you or anything. So they reach out to us in private, and they've had it. So they're either like, we are so sick and tired of this zero COVID thing, or they've just recently gone back home, and they reach out to us, and they're telling us, we had no idea that it's actually open like this. Yeah. There are some big name shills who work for the Chinese government who left China to go and travel. The whole point is that they're like sucking off the G-bar of the CCP. This has happened to like at least 4 big YouTube channels that are China-based, where they're like, China's the best, China's amazing, and they keep going around doing state media stuff. But their feet are doing the talking because they've all left. They're like, hey, we want to do travel shows.
You're still shilling, but you're not even in China anymore.
They're like, oh, we love China so much, but I have to go back and visit family. Or, oh, we love China so much, but you know what? I want to travel and do stuff. So what you're saying is the zero COVID policy is so bad that it's even chasing out the most optimistic top shills who absolutely suck off the Chinese government all the time. They can't handle it anymore because they can't travel.
No.
You can't travel domestically in China without massive amounts of hassle and the potential of being locked up. So they're leaving. They've left. Some of the biggest pundits for the CCP and Huawei and things like that are now currently bouncing around Thailand,
but they're still doing
Philippines.
Chinese propaganda.
Isn't it crazy?
And promoting zero COVID policy.
Yeah, but they're not there.
No.
Or they're doing van
life.
life.
Why they left.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they're, doing whatever. And they're outside of China having a great time, having the freedoms, but still saying, oh, but the zero COVID policy is good. Dude, shut the hell up. Go back to China if you're going to say that.
Show the next clip. So also World Cup. You guys are pumped for the World Cup. Our viewership just skyrocketed when we brought up the World Cup, by the way.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, what can you tell me about this?
It's really interesting. You guys notice this clip. You're watching a goal, right, being scored. Just notice, why is the crowd being censored and blurred. That makes absolutely no sense.
I'll get a freeze frame so you can see. Like, let's get a freeze frame where you can see the crowd.
So what's that?
Okay, now, before we get called misinformation agents or so on, yes, we understand that this was not everywhere in China. You could still watch the World Cup on many channels and from many services in China and see the crowds.
Yes.
But this is through streaming, okay? Right. And what happens is there's always a delay in live streaming for China, of course, because they have to be ready to censor.
Yeah.
This is because when that whole thing happened where people were like freaking out about everyone having a good time and not wearing masks, right? This was the solution.
Yeah.
Don't let people see them.
They censored the crowd.
Yeah. And so on this particular stream, for this particular game, from this particular channel, this happened.
Yes.
Okay?
People are like, did they really blur the crowd?
They did.
They really blurred
This
the
is
crowd.
real. This is not made up.
No.
Okay? But at the same time, to clarify, this was not everywhere in China. It's not like China censored all crowds on all channels.
No. This is one channel.
This is one channel, and presumably it happened on plenty of other ones too at a specifically given time through streaming. Okay? And it's a knee-jerk reaction to everybody suddenly like, why can the rest of the world
It's almost like they didn't want to answer the government. They'd be like, why did you show those people without masks on?
Yeah.
That's going to make people revolt, you know?
Yeah.
And it did. Like, there's a big stink online. Like I said, people were upset. They were like, why do these people get away with this? They don't have to wear masks.
Yeah, because, you know, they keep hearing from the Chinese government that it's so bad and everyone's dying and you know, like it's a terrible thing happening overseas. It's racked with COVID. Everyone's like in a bad way and all that kind of crap. But when you see the reality, because this is something that the Chinese government can't really censor is the World Cup.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When people see this actual reality, they're like, hang on a second here. Like, this isn't fair.
Yes.
Know? And it's not fair for Chinese people to not be able to just enjoy life and continue on with life, you know?
Yes.
Living in this horrible thing.
Correct.
So, yeah, this is this nonsense over here. with
Censoring the World Cup is hilarious.
It is hilarious.
I mean, that's just...
Yeah, you can't make that up, right?
No.
You know, there's another reason they censor crowds like this. It's happened before, is if somebody holds up a protest sign or something.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
This is a dual purpose.
Yeah.
It's to stop, because there's all kinds of protests that people make political messages at world events, as they should. Everyone's like, keep politics out of this stuff. No. If this is a world stage where you might be able to eke some information into the Chinese crowd or North Korea or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
So do your protest stuff. Anyway, what if you had political banners here that said Xi Jinping is the greatest threat to the world, or something like this, or has like some like the CCP is evil or something like this, right? That would be a nightmare, because the Chinese government has effectively told their populace that the rest of the world's the enemy, but nobody hates the Chinese government. We are the good guys, you know.
Right,
if you see other people doing that on a world stage and it's allowed, people are like, they're allowed to do that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I know, right? I mean? Yeah.
Society, right? Qatar.
Sure.
Anyway.